Okay, so I think last time I did this, we were at the cofunctions, and that's just basically saying the sine and the cosine of complementary angles are congruent to each other, or are equal to each other. Same thing with all the other ones. Okay, our reciprocal trig identities, and again, you're gonna have to just start memorizing these. You again probably know most of these already, anyhow. All right, so the sine of an angle, not only is it opposite over hypotenuse, but the reciprocal trig identity is it's the reciprocal of cosecant. So it's 1 over the cosecant of angle theta. And obviously cosecant is 1 over sine theta. And again, the whole point of accumulating these identities is we're going to be simplifying trig expressions and trig equations, and being able to substitute one thing in for another is going to be helpful. So cosine's 1 over secant theta, secant's 1 over cosine theta, tangent is 1 over cotangent theta, and cotangent's 1 over tangent theta. Okay. Now the quotient identities, these are important ones. I guess they're all important, but these pop up a lot. So tangent has a whole bunch. So tangent is, right now it's opposite over adjacent. It's also 1 over cotangent, but it's also the sine of an angle over the cosine of the angle. So sine over cosine is equivalent to tangent. And again, I'll show you, down here, I'll show you why that happens. Cotangent, well, since cotangent's the reciprocal, right, it's the reciprocal of tangent, then it's also the reciprocal of this identity over here. So it's going to be cosine theta over sine theta. Okay. All right. So ultimately, here's what we're getting to. And these are the things that you're going to have to memorize. And again, we're only in a right triangle, so between 0 and 90 degrees for these. But eventually we're going to do the unit circle. So the sine of 30, we said, was a half. Cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. The tangent of 30. Now, I don't think we talked about this one yet, but you can do sine over cosine. The answer, it ends up being, it's root 3 over 3. Now watch, I'll show you. It's sine over cosine of 30 degrees, which when you multiply by the reciprocal, you get 1 over, right? The 2's are going to cancel each other out, over root 3. And then when you simplify it or rationalize it, you get root 3 over 3. Okay? Now remember, we know that the sine of 30 has the same answer as the cosine of 60, so this is a half. And the same thing with the sine of 60 and the cosine of 30, this is root 3 over 2. And now the tangent of 60, you can do sine over cosine. So if I did sine over cosine, again, or you can just take the reciprocal of this. That's probably the easier way. It's just root 3. All right, 45 degrees, the sine of 45 degrees is going to be root 2 over 2. This is root 2 over 2. And that's going to be 1 because it's sine over cosine. Okay. And then when you go to do cosecants of these, you just take the reciprocal. So this would be 2. Oh, secant of 60 has the same answer. That's 2. Secant of 30, it's the reciprocal of the cosine of 30. So that's 2 over root 3. And again, I want you to rationalize that for right now, which would be 2 root 3 over 3. The cosecant of 60 has the same exact answer, 2 root 3 over 3. Okay, cotangent of 30, you can do a couple of things. It has the same exact answer as the tangent of 60, or the reciprocal of the tangent of 30, which ends up being root 3. This is root 3 over 3. All right, cosecant of 45 is the reciprocal of the sine of 45, so it's 2 over root 2, which is 2 root 2 over 2, which is just root 2. Secant of 45 would have the same answer as root 2, and the cotangent of 45 is also 1. Okay? So you're going to have to memorize this. Now remember, we do know radians. So you're also going to be like, okay, what's the sine of, let's say, pi over 3? And you go, oh, that's the sine of 60. Well, the sine of 60 is root 3 over 2. Now, again, you're going to memorize that eventually, so you don't have to kind of be looking back at this chart. So I just put all degrees in here for these examples. but obviously we also know radians. Okay, so if I was going to do what's the tangent of pi over 6? Oh, that's the tangent of 30 degrees, which is going to be root 3 over 3. Okay, now eventually we're going to be going all the way around the circle. So the answers are going to have the same answer. There's going to be some are going to be positive and some are going to be negative. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, little chart here. All right, so this says the cosine. This is pi over 3, which that is 60 degrees. The cosine of 60 is a half. And again, you would have that memorized. All right, the sine. All right, this is basically saying, hey, the sine of some mystery angle, we'll call it theta, is equal to a half. This is technically considered to be inverse trig. So what angle has a sine of a half? And that is 30 degrees, or pi over 6. Okay, the cotangent of 60, you could do it a bunch of ways. Some people like to think, hey, what's the tangent of 60? And I'll just take the reciprocal of that, and the tangent of 60 is root 3. And if you take the reciprocal of that, that is 1 over root 3, which is root 3 over 3. And this is going to be pi over 3. All right, and then this one is the secant of some angle is root 2. And hopefully you're going to get the hang of looking at that and go, oh, that's 45 degrees. So we get 45 or pi over 4. Okay? All right, so this is kind of the same thing. I'm not going to do both these. I'll just do number 2. Find the value of theta in degrees and radians for the right in a right triangle. So this is basically saying the cosecant of some angle is 2 root 3 over 3. Now, sometimes what I like to do is just go, okay, cosecant's the reciprocal of sine. So if I did the sine of the reciprocal of that, and the reciprocal of that's root 3 over 2, and you'll get used to that. And then you'll go, hey, what angle can I take the sine of and get root 3 over 2? And that is going to be 60 degrees, which is pi over 3. Now, again, you can memorize cosecant. I just tend to, when I myself, go to memorize these and learn these, I just memorize the sine, cosine, and tangent. And then anything else that's a cosecant, a secant, or cotangent, I just take the reciprocal of that answer. Okay. Calculator work. I trust that you can all plug that into your calculator. Just make sure your calculator is in degrees. I better show this to you because this gets messed up all the time. All right, let me see. I have to open up my Chromebook here. Okay, so if I'm going to do, I think it was cosine, right? I want to make sure, I want to go into mode, and you can see right here, I'm in radians. I want to be in degrees. So go over degrees, hit enter, second quit, and now I'm going to do the cosine of 45, and now I'm in degrees. It should be like 0.7 something. No, it wasn't even close. 0.707. That's it's root 3 over 2. Okay. Let me just do something here. I want to do the tangent of that. I want to make sure it actually switched modes. Tangent of 45 should be 1. So let's make sure that I'm getting that. All right, that must mean it didn't switch over. Yeah, look, it didn't switch. I knew it. All right, let me try it now. All right, there we go. And I believe, let me just see if the cosine of 45, I was right. I knew it was 0.7 something. All right. All right, so that's that. For this one, you're just going to have to make sure you're in radians. Now, I'm going to do this one because there's not a cotangent button on your calculator. So what you're going to have to do for this one is you're going to have to do 1 divided by the tangent of pi over 12. Sorry, my handwriting's messy. I'm writing with this not flat as a tablet. All right, so cotangent of pi over 12. So I'm going to do alpha. I just like to do the fraction because to me it looks nicer. 1 over the tangent of pi, and I'll switch it to radians. I know I have to switch it. And I'm actually, let me do this. Do another fraction in here. This tablet's just not great. Sorry. Hardest alpha y equals, there we go. I'm going to go pi second pi, I think it was 12. And now I got to switch to radians. And again, if you're in physics, you're going to have to keep switching back and forth between classes. And hit enter, and I should get 3.732. Okay. All right. Nope, don't want that. What is that? Okay, and I think that's the last thing. Yes, that's the last thing. All right, so your homework assignment is to do the 4.2 homework assignment that's in your textbook. Okay. I'll put this on Canvas.